I'm Abhirama, a programmer on Team 7172. Our guest today is Dr. Sandeep Gangarapu, an applied scientist building an experimentation platform at Apple and a former Google data scientist. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing great. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Before we dive into technology, I wanted to tell you about gracious professionalism, an essential part of the first tech challenge. To me, gracious professionalism is working with your team and other teams in collaboration while keeping a competitive mindset. After learning about gracious professionalism, have you seen any instances of it in your workplace?
I mean, I have like it's been almost like 10 years I've been working in these corporate slash like professional environments. And it's a long time, right? And the only people I remember and I hold dear or I speak about to others are people who have been gracious to me, who understood what my problems are, and who actually gave me the benefit of doubt and helped me go through obstacles. It may not matter in the short run, like in the short term benefit, it may not look like it matters, but like I said, these are the only things that matter in the long run. So yes, you're right. I think gracious professionalism is super important in one's career, which is like a marathon and really long term.
Yeah, totally. Can you tell us a little bit about about yourself?
Yes, so I'm an applied scientist at Apple. So I build experimentation platform for testing all Siri features. So any feature that you use on Apple Siri, the personal assistant, cannot just be rolled out because the product is really complex. It's in around like 20, 30 different countries, so many more languages, and very different kinds of people use Siri in their day-to-day life, like really old people, young people, kids, and people with disabilities, and people whose accent is not clear. So it's a really, really complex product. So I build experiments to test that the features are working really well and where the problems are and what the exact impact of that feature is and how exactly it is working compared to what's already existing.
Mhm. So, what initially sparked your interest in data science and machine learning?
I felt like when I started working at Google on anti-abuse, so I felt there is a craft to it. As in, the more you see, the more you learn from data, and the more you make decisions from data, the more mistakes you make, or the more options you have to correct yourself. So it's kind of like a craft. And I felt, like data and machine learning and all these things that you can do is like a craft. And I wanted to develop a craft in my career. So that is how I got into it. And I guess once I got into it, and I never really looked back.
Mhm. That sounds fascinating. So, how did your experiences at Google, like you mentioned, and Mu Sigma shape your approach to problem solving and research? Can you give us a couple of examples?
Some problem solving strategies I've learned over the years is to actually spend a significant amount of time understanding the problem itself. So I feel a lot of data scientists, even like people who have had careers for like 5 to 10 years, and especially early career data scientists and applied scientists. So the problem is they really want to jump into like what is the way I can solve this. So they do not spend enough time understanding the problem, asking questions to themselves, asking questions to leaders who are giving them those problems to understand what it is. So I would say that has helped me quite a lot in spending significant amount of time trying to really understand what the question is, what the problem is.
That's a great method to figure out a solution. I also believe that it's very important to understand the problem. Like for example, I've been doing like USICO problems, which is like competitive programming. And if you don't really understand the problem, there's no possible way you can figure out an algorithm to the solution. It's impossible. So moving
Exactly.
on,
Yeah.
moving on. What was the most memorable moment in your career?
So I think like kind of going back to the gracious professionalism you spoke about.
Mhm.
So like I said, like it's been 10 years since I started working, a little bit more than 10. Some of the only moments that I remember very well are moments when I was recognized for helping others or mentoring others. I mean, like in Google, I got a award which is like team nominated award for like Team Guru, which is given for helping others, figure out stuff or helping others on board or helping others acquire skills. So during my PhD, like some of the only experiences that really add value to me are the feedback that I like positive feedback that I get. whenever I teach a course, or some of my students from that time still reach out to me saying that, hey, like they got promoted, or they're working on some really interesting projects and they really value what they learned in the course that I taught. Yeah. So it goes back to what you started the podcast with, and it's one of the most underrated things in a corporate career too.
Hmm. So I was looking up on your work. Your work on heterogeneous treatment effect frameworks is like sounds fascinating to me. How do these models help improve businesses or scientific decision making?
Yeah. So generally, right, like whenever any business makes a decision, so they have an existing way that they are doing things. They have some idea that says that, oh, if I use this idea, if I solve this problem, it's going to make things better. For example, there is an existing drug that can cure something, but then you do research and then you have this new drug, but you don't know whether it is better or worse than the previous drug. So that's why you conduct experiments. And the
Mhm.
same thing that happens in websites as well. Like, all these companies run these huge experiments. They have an existing algorithm, for example, TikTok. And TikTok has this new algorithm, but they don't want to disrupt the existing one. So they want to make sure that the new one is better than the old one. So that's the thesis for entire A/B testing. So that is where heterogeneous treatment effects come. As in, like, what is the effect of a treatment for different types of individuals or different cohorts? Yeah, so that's where I feel the work on heterogeneous treatment effects. So basically, if an advertiser or a marketer is operating under a given budget, saying that this is the budget I have, and what is the best way to allocate that budget to different kinds of people. So heterogeneous treatment effect methodologies with machine learning help them decide who they should target and how much percentage of the budget they should target.
So, I remember earlier in the interview, you said that you did some work on the Google abuse and spam like part feature. So, how did you apply these machine learning models to combat spam on Google search? And what were the biggest challenges in doing this?
So the way you combat abuse on Google search is so you basically look at different user signals and website signals. So whenever you search on Google, right, let's say, and most of the time you get like some useful results, but then there is an entire industry which is trying to game the results and trying to come up on top. There are always good way to do it by giving good information, good value, but then there are so many people who try to abuse that. So Google has algorithms that will catch this and try to like demote them or try to remove them if they are too abusive. So there is a lot of there are a lot of signals. One is like, how is the user behaving on their website? Let's say you go to the recipe website and then you just see you're not satisfied. So you just come back to the search result to find some other website. So that's a bad signal. And let's say like the website creator has so many other websites in their profile which are all doing same things, or they're auto generating a lot of content. So you use a bunch of these signals um, to create a profile for a website and use those signals to build machine learning models and then try to filter the cream and then try to remove them.
And was there any challenges you faced in doing this, like your team or just you specifically?
Of course, I mean, spam fighting, what they call, is kind of like a cat and mouse problem. So you go, you find like some pattern and you remove it, and they will understand that, okay, they've caught up to it, and then they'll find something else. And then they'll come up with new ways to abuse because there is so much economic value that they get by coming up in search results. So they're relentless. So they're always finding new ways to abuse, and you always have to be smart and catch them immediately. So it's
That's yeah, that's interesting. So, about your education, what was like one of the most valuable results you learned during your time at IIT that still helps you today in your jobs, your personal life, etc.?
so IIT is one of the premier institutes
Yeah.
in India, and so it's literally like based on a given exam. So it's not even like you can game it because it's one of the hardest exams. Pure math, science, ability of a person. So whoever comes to IIT are literally some of the most smartest, brightest people. And so all your life until then, you feel you're one of the smartest people, and then first week or first month into IIT, you know that you're not. So I think seeing some of the most smartest people in India definitely kept me grounded. So even today, whenever I feel really smart, I feel like, okay, there are smarter people, and I have seen that enough in my life to
Mhm.
know that, okay, there is still always space to grow, space to learn.
So would you say it taught you like a form of humility?
Of course,
Uh-huh.
humility. And I think one of the biggest problems that people face today is like, they call imposter syndrome. They join a new company, for example, they join Google or Apple, and then they feel like an imposter. Oh, how did I get selected? There's so many really smart people around me, and like they always feel like an imposter. Maybe they will catch me, and they will catch me. They will finally find out that I'm not that smart or all of that. How IIT experience helped me is basically being there and actually getting through those 5 years and surviving that gave me enough confidence that if I'm able to survive there, then I can survive anywhere.
Mhm. That sounds like the exact set of skills you need to survive in like big FANG companies, Apple and Google.
Of course,
So,
yeah.
so what advice would you give to students who are interested in pursuing like careers in AI, data science, mathematics, etc.?
So I think there are two things that I would suggest. So one is having really strong fundamentals, having strong base. So strong base comes from understanding right from the scratch, like whenever you're learning in your high school or college, always try to learn, try to ask why. And the other thing is, like being relentless. Uh, which is so whenever like you have a goal to achieve, and um, like it's okay to fail. Like there'll be days where you will be like, hey, what the hell, like I'm not making any progress. But you should always, like, even though however bad it may be, you should just show up. You should just go back again and try it again. And
So, if you could work on any AI related challenge today, what would it be and why?
it's really interesting because like I was speaking to some of my friends about this, like what's the next big thing. And your club actually reached out, the robotics club. So I feel the more than the software AI or the agent AI, I feel in the next 4 to 5 years, an even bigger field is going to be robotic AI.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, robots have been like really hard to manufacture so far because one of the biggest challenges is programming them to do a generic task. There are so many robotic applications that are there in, like in industries. Amazon warehouses have a ton of robots that do things. But the problem that they are not like completely ubiquitous is they cannot solve generic challenges. They cannot follow generic instruction. For example, like every day at 11 p.m. and check whether the door is actually locked or not. Or,
Mhm.
like you have an Amazon package outside, it will open the door, pick the package and put it inside. Especially for, like developing countries, right? For example, places like India, where there is so much problem with plastic and trash and whatnot. The reason why you can't solve them is not really like human. You don't have like labor or not really economics. It's just the structure is not there. The infrastructure is not there to set up the whole thing and make it consistent and make it like sustainable. So, and yeah, one such area in the next few years is going to be AI robotics, and I'm very excited. I don't know what's possible, but it's going to make life so much easier, and there are going to be huge number of innovations and companies that will come out of it, and huge value to everyone on the planet.
So I see we touched on the dot-com bubble there. So do you think just as the dot-com bubble burst, do you think the LLM bubble will burst similarly?
Uh, I mean, if you look at it, the dot-com bubble burst because people thought the value was way higher than what they imagined, or some companies grew like a really hype cycle. But if you were to ask like a person in 1990, tell them in 2025, these are the things that people will be doing on the internet. I mean, they'll be spending 10 hours of their day on the internet. I think they would be really amazed. They wouldn't have predicted that all of these things would happen. So considering that, I don't think it was really a bubble. I mean, definitely like dot coms and internet has provided crazy enormous value. Even though, yes, some companies failed, but a lot of them succeeded over a period of 20 years. So I feel the same exact thing is going to happen in AI and LLM world. Of course, it's going to be a bubble. There's going to be huge hype. But if you ask 10 people to write down predictions for the next 30 years and then go forward 30 years and then read them, we would have achieved way more than what they would have predicted.
Do you think this will always lead to future growth and development for countries?
Definitely, yeah. And I think computing or personal computers or technology as we see today is not gonna look not even close as what it looks today and 20, 25 years from now because of the new technologies that we've been developing, and it's gonna be completely different. It's even hard to imagine what life is gonna be like.
So thank you for your time in this short podcast. Yeah, that concludes our podcast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice. Thank you so much for having
Mhm.
me. And yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to you.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Stay tuned for future episodes of TechDiff Talks. To learn more about First, visit firstinspires.org, link in the description.